Thanks for listening to Welcome to The Prize Inside. A chiropractor's journey in everyday holistic health and vitality. Here, your host, Dr. Jeremy Myers, delves into the remarkable journeys of everyday people who have embraced the path to health and healing. Through his practice, Dr. Jeremy encounters inspiring stories of profound transformation and the power of true healing within each of us. Stay tuned as we discuss various holistic topics and unlock the healing potential that lies within us all.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Whole Health Weekly. Today it'll be a pretty fun show. We'll see how this goes. We had a little downpour there, so hopefully you guys are having a great week. Our weather was great. Where I'm at, Battle Creek, Michigan, we had a great air show. A lot of people fatigued this week because Battle Creek actually, because of this air show, it becomes pretty active like 4th of July weekend. And what was cool was usually in Michigan about this time, it's kind of very dry. You end up not having as much rain. This year we've had a lot of good rain, so people didn't have to worry so much about your fireworks causing any issues or all those kind of things. I do know this. So some of you know that we went and got chickens last year. So chickens were our first thing, and they're fantastic. They've been really good for eggs. So we got 6 chickens. So we get like between 3 and 5 eggs per day, which has been fantastic. And they're kind of hilarious. They poop everywhere though. Dang. Like anywhere there's a sidewalk, I swear to God, they just poop all over the place. But so that's been the interesting thing. I wanted this free range thing, and then Rachel's like, no, we ain't doing it. So we're gonna make at least where the pathways and like the sidewalks and all those kind of things, we got to stop having them poop everywhere. It's ridiculous. I was like, you got all this grass and you go and poop on the sidewalk. It's just so strange. But as we go, but I did find out something very interesting about chickens. They do not like fireworks. Where my house is, you can hear these big bomb. The bigger shows, there's like 3 or 4 of them kind of were like centrally located. So there's one, a show to our north and a show to our south. And so we were home, and these chickens usually, they're getting in just at dusk into their little pen. They kind of go that direction, right? So I know those that don't know, I didn't know this until I was a chicken person, but chickens are actually blind. They're not blind, but they can't see in the dark very well. And so because of that, a lot of times they'll scoot their butt right into their coop, like right when it starts getting dark out. Well, on 4th of July, they were in their coop a lot earlier than normal. I think they were like, something's happening to this earth, and we need to make sure we're back to our coop, because that all we're hearing is things exploding all over the place. So that was pretty funny. I was like, man, didn't get a lot of eggs that day either. So, Marsha, hello. It's good to hear from you tonight. I'm trying different times on Wednesday. And sometimes it'll be life circumstance. So sometimes I'll be able to do it at 6:30, and sometimes it'll be like 8:30. But so hopefully you guys kind of watch for it. With that said, let's talk about, I want you all to remember to subscribe to our Rumble channel. I'm up to it went nuts this week. I got up to like 46 people. That was big, like to have 3 in a week. I think it's working. I think it's good. And then I have this other one that I don't push, but this is an email list. It's called Substack. And a lot of times you can get like emails of notifications when I'm coming on. Eventually, I'll get some articles on there that'll be pretty good too. So Substack is it's a really cool app that you can get from me. And so if you get, and all you're doing is subscribing to a mailing list on there, and then it sends out a notification of the shows right now. Once in a while, I'll put like a little article on there. So, and then that one, and then the last thing you can follow on if you'd like is podcast. So podcast is the one reason I started doing this a long time ago. I've always had a desire to do these. And so my podcast has been on there for a while. Actually, I'm just getting more consistent at it. So I tell everybody in 1% Tribe to be consistent with their health. I was like, all right, I got to be consistent with these podcasts as well. So that's why all this is occurring. So I love this aspect of it. So tonight we're going to go over some weekly trends. So we're going to look into health. Marsha, since you're on tonight, if you have any like questions, health related, that are in the news, or you're getting it on your Twitter or Facebook or TikTok, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. I never thought of, eating yohimbe bark with syrup, and all of a sudden it's like the next natural thing. We don't know, but we get inundated with that stuff a ton. And so that's what Whole Health Weekly is. And then we go into some cool articles that are like new, that could be interesting to you. So with the tradition, we're up to this is the 28th episode of Whole Health Weekly, which is crazy. So what that means is we're going into this beginning part is we go into the 28th chiropractic principle. So when chiropractic was figured out 100 plus years ago, they created these principles. And so we're going to read principle number 28 to you tonight, because it's episode number 28. And I haven't even read this one because it's been a minute. All right. So I'm going to read this, and remember, this is 1900 speak, so 1910-ish. So principle 28. Sorry, I almost read 29. So it's called the conductors of innate forces, and we'll talk about this. The forces of innate intelligence operate through or over the nerve system in animal bodies. Okay. So remember what innate intelligence is. So the innate intelligence of our body is these cells, right? The cells of our body have its self-healing, and they have intelligence. We call that in chiropractic innate intelligence. So there's innate intelligence that says all of your cells of your body work in coordination with each other because your entire body's intelligent. The reason it does that is because there's a universal intelligence, aka nature, let's call it that. So nature around us, we have to adapt and cooperate basically so our human body, our cells of our body have to cooperate with this universal intelligence. What we believe as chiropractors is because the biggest communication factor in all of our human body is our spine and nervous system. And so the spine and nervous system with the brain and all those different things isn't a really, really good pathway. Now, this is written in 1910s. So now we understand that the innate intelligence of the body is actually within every single cell of the human body. It's not just your nervous system, but your nervous system, the nerves of your body, are your communication pathway from your brain to the rest of your body. So the conductors and the communicators, the main ones that we really need are, within your spine and nervous system. That's why we say getting adjusted on a regular basis is a really good idea, because then you're making sure that there's no interferences to this communication pathway. If there's no interferences to that communication pathway, then life is a lot better. Your innate intelligence is able to communicate, heal you better, do a lot of those kind of things. And so that's what the entire concept of chiropractic is. And it's fantastic. Now, we know right, that there can be a little other factors, right, with this communication. The three things that throw this innate intelligence into where it's not so good are thoughts, toxins, trauma, the 3 T's. So you can have mental stresses that can cause the communication pattern of your innate intelligence to get bad. You can have chemical stressors that cause your innate intelligence to not communicate as well. And then you have traumatic ones. You fall, those kind of things. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I always like throwing, that was principle number 28. There's 33 chiropractic principles. And so once we go through all those, we'll find some other cool quotes, as we go through the chiropractic ideas. So with that said, let us go into the next step of the world. We're going to go into what is trending this week. All right. Okay. So this week's health trends, and these are recent insights that are all over the internet. So that's what I do is I kind of get in here and kind of do a big search and then see what is really taking off within the world of health and holistic healing. So right now, this one is up there for this week. Mindfulness and immune health. There's emerging studies suggesting that mindfulness practices like meditation may enhance immune function, gaining traction in holistic health strategy. So that one's a good one to start the conversation with. That's an absolute truth, right? So, and there's a ton of science behind that. So when you get into mindfulness or meditative practices, your immune system, we talked about that, right? So just a minute ago. If your thoughts are in a position to where that's not interfering with your body's innate ability to heal itself, then you're going to be in a better position with your immune system. So in technicalities, it could absolutely work for the immune function of the human body, right? So that's why they say studies are showing that if you meditate, which puts you into what they call the parasympathetic state. So you have two different kinds of your nervous system has this thing called the autonomic nervous system. Okay. So you have let's call it the nervous system, right? Your nerves to your hands. And your body, your consciousness would move your hands. Your brain tells your hands to move, right? Your autonomic nervous system is what they call the subconscious body. It's a subconscious nervous system. That subconscious nervous system has two. One is called fight and flight, which is called sympathetic. And then one's called parasympathetic, which is what they call rest and digest. The sympathetic is activated when you get a ball thrown at your face and you have to move, right? And then your sympathetic goes, oh God, right? And that ball's coming at you, or a lion's in the room and you have to run, right? So that causes the sympathetic. So it tells the innate intelligence, hey, I need some blood to my muscles, and I need my heart to start beating really fast because I'm going to start running away from this freaking lion that's chasing me. And that's your sympathetic. Your parasympathetic is hey, this bread looks delicious. I'm going to sit and enjoy this bread in very relaxed state so that all these digestive things happen. What meditation allows you to do is get into that more resting mode where it's kind of rest and heal. So when you're allowed to kind of rest and relax, you're actually healing. Great question today was, Jeremy, why does this happen? Every time I go on a vacation, I get sick. Whoa, that's a huge question. Okay. So we talked about it at length today, and it's Rose. So if Rose is out there, I remember it was like a very, very great question. One of the reasons I believe this happens, now I'm not saying, like I don't have a scientific thing, but I know it's true. A lot of people will get sick on vacation. Why do they get sick? Because when our body is running in a sympathetic or that fight and flight all the time, let's say you have a high stress environment at work, you have high stress in life or whatever, right? Your body isn't in the mode to heal. It's in the mode to protect. So it gets into this stressful state and it wants to protect you. So what happens is your body's ability to heal goes down. Now but it's also in this active hyper tense mode. That's why you get tension. That tension is a part of what's happening, but it kind of puts away all these little healing things. When we go on vacation, we immediately start going into rest and digest, right? So we start resting. Well, that allows our innate intelligence, like, oh, cool, we're in rest and digest. So what we're going to do is start to heal you. You had this little gut bug that you've been having for several months, but you kind of ignored it. And now I'm able to rest and digest. So then all of a sudden somebody gets sick or something happens like that. It's a very interesting concept, but it makes sense because your place that you're going to do the most healing is when your body is in that resting and digesting. That's one of the problems that we have right now with over exertion exercises. So some people aren't exercising at all, but some people are over exercising. When they over exercise, their body starts to break down. And so because they never get to that resting phase, that relaxation phase, those kind of things. So make sure if you're an intense workout person, you give yourself that day, like to really relax so that you can get that proper healing done. Oh, Marcia says, so it would be beneficial to maybe have a few moments of meditation every day. Absolutely. So meditation, just from that article, could be really, really good, especially if you're in the right mindset. So, and we'll go through that someday with the 1% tribe again. I always tell people I do a 5 to 10 minute meditation in the morning, and then 5 to 10 visualization, which is a different one, different concept, but at night. And when I started doing that, it was an absolute game changer for my whole life, just in structure and like how I approach a day. I love doing that. So if you aren't a Rumble channel person, go back, because Rumble, the reason I like Rumble so much is you can actually just go down and it's like a library. So you can find the one that says visualization and just watch it. And then you can see how to do a visualization. Meditation, there's so many good ones out there. On that, I really like, there's 2 apps. If you're not into meditation yet, but you'd like to try, there's 2 apps you can actually get on your phone. One is called Calm, just Calm, CALM, and it's really, really good. There's a free version and you can pay for some. It kind of helps you walk through. And the other one that I really like introducing people to is called Headspace. Headspace is another fantastic one. But when you prove that the immune system, if you're sick all the time, maybe you're stressed all the time, right? And so maybe your immune system's not, doing what it's supposed to do. So that could be a really good thing. All right. So that was a good trend this week. I like that one. And then we talked on Sunday night about this gut health prioritization. So if you don't catch me on Sunday, remember Sunday night, we're going through gut health. And I did part 1 last week. We're going to keep going on that in part 2. But this one is in trending this week in health. Gut health prioritization. Consumers are focusing on digestive health, with 43% of Americans prioritizing it. This includes rising use of probiotics, anti-diarrheal medications, supplements driven by travel, and medications that I don't really love, this GLP-1 situation. But gut health prioritization. So in gut health, there is so much about your microbiome that we have to go into. I would suggest we started a program. It's been a while, but now we've really dialed in the program. If you have gut health issues, let us know, because we have a program for that now, and it's really well done. The people that have done it have really, really liked it. We're working with a couple that I can't wait. It's really fun how it works, and because it goes in phases and it's a process, and people keep, like on the internet, a lot of times they're going to give you this magic pill, and with the gut microbiome, it's a definite process that you want to get to. So it's not just a magic pill that's ever going to get you there. Just taking a probiotic is not going to get you great gut health. Okay. You might, and that is the truth. like absolute truth, just one probiotic. You don't know where you sit, right? And so we have to make sure this gut microbiome is working so that you can get a lot of the benefits out of everything else you're going to do. But like we talked about on Sunday, the gut microbiome has its own its own nerve system. So you have in your gut, it's called the enteric nervous system. You have an entire nervous system in your gut. And if that gut is off, then the innate intelligence of your gut is off. So now I can't eat foods I want to. I can't, have normal bowel movement. There's a lot to that. And so if it's something of a concern, let us know. We're really having a good time with, some gut health stuff. And I think if you start now, you're going to learn so much. It's just such a beneficial tool later on in your life. So remember the gut health thing. We'll do it again because this is it's gonna be the trend, I think, this next bunch of years. But wearable technology integration. Wearables are increasingly used for real-time health monitoring, with innovations like wearable ultrasound and brain-computer interfaces being discussed for managing chronic conditions. Okay, so I'm going to throw this by you all. Do not wear these things all the time. Do not do it. There's too much what they call electromagnetic frequency radiation. A lot of different things. If it can read all this information from you, that means it's sending in information almost like a radiation. It's almost radiating you when they're doing it. Now, is it bad all the time? No. Rachel has what is it? It's the Apple Watch. So it's an Apple Watch, and I used it to run the other day because it's such a good monitoring system. But I take it off. I don't sleep with it. The biggest thing is understanding how to use these wearables. And the other thing is sometimes these wearables give you a psychological problem because you start looking at it. What if it starts reading blood pressure? And all of a sudden, your blood pressure like every moment. And then somebody cuts you off in traffic and then you're looking down at your watch and you're like, oh my God, I have a heart problem. This is a big deal. Like there's going to be almost too much information. It's kind of like what the internet has done to us currently. It's like this information overload that has absolutely caused more problems than it's worth. And that's one reason I did the Whole Health Weekly, because it's like, how do you know what's healthy and what's not? How do you discern all that? You got 27 ads coming at you. Yeah, a good example. I did not know this. My poor Medicare people. I heard the average. Once you become on Medicare, you're so in the computer systems and all these things that you guys get 40 sales calls on health related products like a day, either through text, through emails per day, because you have this Medicare and then all this stuff is covered and blah, blah, blah. That is wild, especially for my Medicare population. They're not used to getting texts. You don't know, you didn't grow up with a bunch of texting, but now all of a sudden these spam texts are coming. It's wild. So imagine if you have a wearable on and it could read, hey, I got high blood pressure because I just got cut off in the road, and they send you an ad for a blood pressure medicine. Think about that. That's kind of what the future they'd like to see. But there's an advantage to it. There's going to be good things that come out of it, but we have to have an understanding of it so we don't get lost in the weeds. I've seen this so many times, wasting thousands of dollars on things you don't necessarily need, right? So just remember that as you go into the wearables. Good data, I'll never say no, but if you start living based on that thing, that's going to be a problem. So, all right. Oh, here's a good one. And this is happening a lot. I'm hoping this happens more. Cutting processed foods out of our diet. Surveys indicate that 34% of Americans plan to reduce processed food consumption in 2025. That's pretty good. So 34% of Americans. That's really good. Trying to shift to whole new functional foods, right? So if we can start staying away from these processed ones, which we talk about all the time, right? So ultra processed, seed oils, all kinds of. Oh, nice. Marcia says they have eliminated processed food. It's great. The hardest part is getting used to it because there's certain traditions in our lives. We just go to the same grocery store, we get the same stuff, we bring it home. We liked it back then. Now it's like with us, you have 2 kids at home. They like certain things, so then you go get them and then you snag on them a little bit, right? The processed foods are very good at chemically altering things to make sure that you like them. And so I guarantee almost everything in processed food tastes delicious. If everybody a bag of Doritos, you end up at the bottom of the bag of the Doritos. It takes 2 seconds. You can't eat 2. That's not a thing. Yeah. Well, good, Marcia. Reading labels is where we're at. If we start now, here's the thing on that. So we say we're going to bring that up. We read labels. However, here's something that I was talking to a patient last week about this. I was so mad. I was so excited. I saw, all right, RFK just took, they're going to eliminate red dye 40 out of foods, which is fantastic. It's chemical laden. It's very bad for you. The problem is I thought it was gone. They just renamed it. I get so frustrated. Watch very closely. They know the consumer, the smart consumer is reading labels. So they're going to throw you different names. Here's a good example. Used to be high fructose corn syrup. All of his doctors are like, stay away from that because it's causing a lot of problems. Fibromyalgia, all these different things if you have too much of this high fructose corn syrup. What do? Change the name. Change the name to sucralose or these other types of chemical laden names. So that's one thing to watch really, really closely. What are these names? What are these names? Because it could be a lot of different styles of names out there. And we just have to make sure we're paying attention as best we can. My hopes that one day we won't have to do that and we can trust the actual labels. Oh, don't even get me started sometimes on the organic. So the organic, I wish I could trust it. I think I can, but it's one of those where, once you told me red dye 3 20 years ago, which all of us were throwing the flag because we're like, this is terrible. Oh man, if I could find, they took the video off, but I had this video of a child they put in a room and said, read this book. So the kid's reading the chapter in the book, and then they gave him a red candy. I won't name the candy, but the red candy. And then they said, read the book. He couldn't do it. He literally couldn't do it. He was He was trying to bust out of that room like crazy. That was 20 years ago. And so kind of a holistic practitioners lost their mind going, hey, we got to get rid of this. And some moms that noticed this thing were saying the same thing. So they're like, yep, we got rid of red dye. No, they just changed the name. So just be careful that way. Yes. So artificial sweeteners, they're all chemicals. Okay. That's why they say it. They have to say it in the name. So artificial means they're, so stevia is an interesting one because it's still a chemical. The stevia is, let me look that real quick. I'm glad you brought that up, Marcia, because that is a good question. So let's look this up. Because I want to find out for myself. Okay, I'm going to read this because stevia has been touted as a natural supplement to sugar. Now, I know there are ones out there. There's natural sugars like honey, syrup, beet, actually. You can get beet cane sugar, those kind of situations. Stevia, I've always wondered because they have to process it so much. So let's research this now. Stevia is made from the leaves of Stevia ribaudinia plant, a shrub native to South America. The process involves extracting and purifying sweet compounds, primarily steviosides and ribaudiosides A, which are glycosides responsible for the sweetness. And this is how it's produced. They cultivate and harvest it. They dry it. They extract, filtration and purification. Okay, so I'm still up in the air because of this, the way they filter and purify it. So the liquid extraction is filtered to remove plant material and impurities. Then it's purified using techniques like ion exchange, chromatography, or crystallization to isolate the steviosides and this other sides, and which is sweeter and less bitter. I would say it could be a potential for sure. So stevia, I would say, is closer to natural than everything. But in reality, pure sugar is better than almost anything. See, they had to extract a lot of stuff. And so that's why I always understood. I knew that the stevia was a chemical. It was like from a plant, but I didn't know how much chemical movement. And it looks like if they're just extracting what is sweet out of the plant, you should be good. So stevia, actually, I'm changing my mind. I'm not going to call it artificial crap anymore. Anything that says artificial sweetener on it, though, it's crap. Just letting you know. When you say, "Oh, I'm having diet whatever," why does it taste the same? Because it's crap sugar. I always get people going on that one. I hate to be that way, but here's the problem. If something says, I used to use this all the time. If there's something that says it has 0 calories, like it's very few calories, tastes just like butter, right? It's one molecule away from plastic. Calories calories in your food are actually the energy unit. So think of how gas is burnt. So like gas versus propane they all have different like ignition energies. So calories are kind of your energy from that food. So the less calories. So our problem is we eat too many calories because the calories we have are junk calories. Okay. So we don't feel satisfied because when you eat artificial calories, your body is craving for more nutrition. And so your body is begging for these kind of nutritions that come out, right? And so because you're not getting all the nutrition, it's asking for more calories. Does that make sense? Hopefully that does. If you eat good whole calories, whole foods, all these things that fit, it's amazing how fast it fills you up. Have you ever noticed how full you get off of like a salad, versus a pizza? So like for me, I could eat a whole pizza. It's like something in my brain tells me that whole pizza has to go away. But a salad, I could eat like a bowl and I'm pretty satisfied, right? Because it's just the amount of whole calories and real calories, nutritional value to that. All of those things matter to what they call satiate the diet out. So then all of a sudden, once you fill your body full of really good calories, then all of a sudden you feel so much different. It's really good. Oh, Marcia says, what it says. So if we stayed with the raw honey and raw maple syrup, that would be the best because yes. So typically it is because it comes in that natural form. Cane sugar is another really good one, but stevia is not bad. So like there's going to be some options where after looking at how it's produced, I'm changing my mind pretty good on the stevia stuff because they can produce it. And if you don't know, there's a sugar mafia. This may actually get me censored off of YouTube, but I'm not kidding about this. So there's 2 brothers that own all the sugar in all of America. Hilariously, one donates to one party and the other one donates to the other. I'm sure there's no price fixing at all in there. So it makes it hard for food manufacturers in America to get real sugar. That's one of the major problems. Like, because you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can't say, oh, okay, it's all the food manufacturers. They're just sitting in a diabolically hidden room and they're like, oh man, how do we get these people with the fake sugar? That's not actually what happens. They can't get it at a normal rate because we have two brothers that are quadrillionaires or whatever, and they can set the price. That's a problem, right? And so maybe one day you might hear it in the news. I don't know. That one's a little more controversial. We'll see. When they're quadrillionaires, and I can tell you their names, but I really don't want to get booted off of YouTube. So look that up yourself. The brothers that own all the sugar. It'd be interesting. And they both, one's Democrat, one's Republican. They kind of do kind of that kind of situation. Anyway, so let's go into the next one. But that was a good conversation. That's awesome. Okay. Oh, I like this one. And so this one is the last trend this week is healthy aging focus. So 33% of Americans are prioritizing longevity. Trends like biohacking, using advanced supplements, and personalized health data are rising. Okay, so that's fair. So with the biometrics, that's what they're going to call the health stuff. They're going to have all these biometrics, and they're going to throw cool, fun names at you like biohacking to make your 80-year-old body look like it's 30. Here's the biohack. And then all of a sudden you have the biometrics. I was like, yeah, eat good. There's not a ton that you have to do other than the stuff innately to do, right? Eating well, moving well, resting well, thinking well. You do all those things. Self-care, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, getting adjusted, getting, let's say, a massage, like exercise, all those different things lead you to a better outcome. Okay. Like, so that's always going to be a thing. So if I wanted to get your attention though, in the world of social media and everything, I'd be like, okay, biohack, we're just going to biohack you. And then we get this biohack going. And then you're like, okay, stretch your shoulders. What's that? Oh, that'll biohack you. Right. So you're doing something better, or, this supplement is the only supplement you'll ever need, those kind of things. There's some really cool stuff out there. That's one reason I did I'm a registered herbalist as well now, because that world is so amazing and like what there is actually out there. But just don't get sucked into those big key kicker words. When you hear those words, really research it before you go in and buy in it. Oh, anti-aging biohack for everything. And then you push the button, right? And you buy $80 worth of stuff. And then you find out you could have got it $10 at, your local natural food store. So that is a big thing. But the longevity trend is pretty cool. It's like we're thinking that way. Let's take care of ourselves for a lifetime. One of my favorite chiropractors in the world, he'd like take care of your body like you own a Corvette. Don't take care of your body like you own a Chevette. Marshall, remember a Chevette. That's an interesting one. All right. So let's go into, so now that we've done the trends of the week, the trends of that week, now we can go into the cool articles in the holistic space. So let's look at those. Okay. I found some good ones. So let's do this. A popular heartburn drugs are linked to potentially some heart attacks. Okay, so this is a big one for me. Goes back to gut microbiome. Okay, so if some people are suffering with this, because a lot of people take these, these, we'll talk about them. They're called PPIs. So a PPI heartburn drug has been linked to a 16% higher risk of heart attacks and double the risk of dying. Oh, this is by Dr. Mercola. Dr. Mercola is where I get a lot of my stuff. He's a very good article writer. So even with people with no heart disease. Contrary to common belief, most acid reflux is caused by too little stomach acid, not too much. PPIs, these are called, they're protein pump inhibitors. That's what PPI stands for. They worsen the problem by further suppressing acid production. So that suppresses the acid production. Long-term PPI use, which I despise, uses or it damages kidneys, weakens bones, impairs nutrient absorption, and increases infectious risk, as stomach acid is essential for pathogen defense. So you have to have a balanced pH in your stomach, or else you're going to have problems. Gut microbiome can't live. So now you have digestive problems. That it leads to all kinds of stuff. The problem is these drugs were made for very short-term use. And now we have people on them for years. And that is a major issue because they work. You can feel them actually potentially working and the symptoms go away. That's one of the problems. If you're using PPIs, taper off slowly and switch to one that's a much safer. So famotidine, which is Pepsid, a safer option that not only avoids heart risks, but also helps block excessive serotonin that disrupts the energy and drives inflammation. So we kind of learned something today. I didn't know you could go to Pepsid. So Pepsid is one that you could go to instead of these heavy duty PPIs. Full recovery of stomach acid production and digestive function after long-term PPI use takes several months, up to 2 years, requiring targeted nutritional support. So if you know somebody that is in that situation, that is a really good time to do the gut microbiome type situation where you're detoxing that. But you can see it's a process to get there. Some people have been on these PPIs, acid reflux meds is what we're talking about, for several years when they know it should have been long. It should have been shorter term. And this is the way to always think about this. A PPI is what they call a protein pump inhibitor. So that chemical goes in and stops this protein pump that's producing acid. So this acid's going into your stomach to break down the food, right? So it's trying to break down this food. The concept in sick care or medical model is that we have too much acid in the stomach causing this digestive problem. And so we reduce the acid. But the problem is, it's a lot of times, if you ever heard, our stomach actually becomes too basic sometimes. And so this protein pump inhibitor comes in and reduces the acid more, taking that away. Now, what we have to do is get these protein pumps and the acid balance correct in the stomach, which could take a while. And that's one of the problems. We are a very fast society where we don't think that, these things take time. It's always the hardest part for me in holistic health is we think, acid reflux has been there 5 years, is going to take 2 days to fix. But a broken leg will take, several months. We understand that because it's the broken leg and you can see it. But all of a sudden you have acid reflux for 5 years and you think, this one pill is going to fix it for, in 2 days and you're feeling fantastic. So it must be fixed. That's our problem. We never go after the why. I had an interesting article this week. That was funny. It was an interview, and this guy was interviewing this one lady, and her job is to take care of and manage 1,000 different medical doctors out there. So these 1,000 medical doctors, they said, what's been your biggest challenge over the last 5 years? You know what the medical doctors are saying? Patients are asking, what's the root cause of what's happening? They're getting so annoyed with that because it's like before this 3 to 5 years, no one was really looking. They were just saying, give me the pill that fixes the thing, right? And now everybody's like, wait a minute, what's the root cause so I can actually go after this? Now, I don't think nefariously. I don't think the MDs are like, oh, this sucks. Just take my pill and shut up. I don't think that. I think they're kind of excited that there's a new education like out there. And I knew it was going to happen, when people started waking up to this holistic side of things, that there are alternatives. There are ways to get yourself healing. You're not locked into this perpetual bad health for the rest of your life. You just have to choose it. You have to choose that path and work with your doctors, work with them, and you can watch your relationship with those doctors go good, right? Because most doctors don't think you're going to do anything going towards your health once you leave that office. And so that's what they are having the issue with too. And so a lot of these doctors are getting they're getting a lot better, man. I'm telling you. Before it was a little more ego. Now I'm like watching in excitement, really, that doctors really love watching you guys improve yourselves. But yeah, ask the right questions. Okay. So that one's a pretty good article today. Okay. This one's going to be interesting. Let's go into it. This is a unique protein provides clues on how to extend lifespan through diet. Okay, so this was very interesting. A single protein called klotho, it's Klotho, extended healthy mice lifespan by 20%, while improving muscle strength, bone density, and cognitive function across multiple body systems. Klotho functions as a longevity switch that naturally declines with age. It's influenced by lifestyle choices rather than chronological aging. Regular moderate exercise, whole foods diets rich in antioxidants, and adequate vitamin D significantly boost Klotho levels, while overtraining reverses these benefits, and we'll talk about that. Poor sleep, chronic stress, loneliness, and habits like smoking all decrease this Klotho protein production, accelerating the aging process and increasing disease risks. Scientists are exploring Klotho as a biomarker for healthy aging, as low levels correlate with greater risk of cognitive decline, frailty, and early mortality. Let's see. So Klotho is a protein your body creates. So what we want to do is make sure that this might be a biomarker in the future. It's this protein that your body naturally produces. And so with these regular other aspects, you build this protein up, and then that protein is, this is interesting. Let's keep going on this article. So, all right, where are we at? Sorry. Okay. Klotho is a protein. And this is just Dr. Mercola as the article again. Klotho is a protein your kidneys and your brain naturally produce, but only if you're living in a way that supports that internal machinery. The good news, your habits, what you eat, how you move, how well you sleep, and even how connected you feel to others all influences your body's Klotho production, which is really, really cool. So right now, I don't see any like supplements or anything that help with that, except for living that nice holistic lifestyle that we all kind of know. Man, it even increases stem cell activity. Did you guys know that? Did you guys know that you build your own stem cells? So most of the time, if your innate intelligence is working properly and everything's flowing, you can produce literally your own stem cells, right? We build and produce cells every day. And I can't remember the thing. How many times you replace your own human body's cells? It's several times. But the idea of these stem cells aren't some magic thing from outside from a fetus or something. It doesn't have to be. Literally, good cells will build other cells. Oh, this is a good question. So are some MDs finally thinking that chiropractic is okay? Because for so many years, MDs, yes. So much different process. I think that's a couple things. One, a lot of my medical doctors have had experience with chiropractic versus saying things about chiropractic like in the past and not having the experience. Once they've gone through the experience, a lot of these doctors are like, that could work. They're not like jumping up and down because they still are medically based. So they're going to have, they want the next drug to do. Their brain doesn't work in that pathway of like self-care as much because of their training. But it has changed remarkably, probably in the last 5 to 10 years. It's really changed, and it's really fun actually, because then, when you need a medical doctor, it's very easy to refer to a lot of good docs out there because they understand where I'm coming from, and they work with us a lot better, which is phenomenal in the holistic way because they want to help you as well. They didn't get into MD world to not help you or just go home and get the paycheck. Most of these kids had to work their tail off. Oh, I just had this thing. I had a patient come in, and the school for medical school and all these other different doctor schools is outrageous. The amount that these kids have to pay, it's in the oh my gosh. That's for another. These poor kids are coming out of school like 600,000, 500,000 in debt. It's wild. Oh, it's hurting my brain. Okay. So with that said, that was a little soapboxy. All right. So we'll get on to that. So remember Clotho. That could be in your blood work in some day where we can look at that for longevity. All right. This one looked pretty cool. Like just remembering this because it makes a big difference. Because remember, part of your microbiome is your mouth. Okay. Your oral health is very important to your gut microbiome. So this one is Dr. Mercola. Heavy metals in everyday toothpaste can threaten your health. Independent testing of 51 popular toothpaste brands revealed 90% of them contained lead, 65% of them contained arsenic, 47% of them mercury, and then 35% cadmium. Only 6 toothpastes tested clean. Whoa. Heavy metals enter toothpaste through contaminated raw materials like hydroxyapatite, calcium carbonate, and bentonite clay used in manufacturing. Lead and cadmium disrupt the cellular functions, causing kidney damage, osteoporosis, anemia, and various other health complications. Despite evidence, toothpaste companies refuse to remove heavy metals. Some even use legal means to intimidate whistleblowers. Switching to a homemade toothpaste made out of coconut oil, baking soda, and essential oils offers safer protection compared to mass-produced alternatives. Now, when we look at stuff like this, we say, is an effect. Remember the 3 things that cause disease, thoughts, toxins, trauma. So the more toxins we get out of our system, the better we'll do. So looking at your toothpaste, finding out, get as natural and organic as you can, and now you have something to look for. Are the heavy metals out of there? Because if you're hitting heavy metals into your oral cavity, right, that's your gut microbiome. That's the beginning. And then we have to get it down to the rest of your gut microbiome. Okay. So very important, especially lead. And these are not things they're intentionally putting in the toothpaste. Some of these things are because of the manufacturing process. So just remember that. So as you go, maybe experiment with, and it said, what did it say? Here's the homemade one is coconut oil, baking soda, and essential oils. I'm going to actually try that. That'd be kind of interesting. I got to take a picture of that before. Hang on. I'm going to do that. Take a picture of this bad boy. And I'll experiment and see how it goes. I'll experiment for you guys. That'll be fun. So yeah, so that is something Marcia says, let me see. Sodium lauryl sulfate is another ingredient that a lot of people are becoming allergic to. Correct. So sulfates in general can be a huge deal, but you got to remember your oral cavity is huge in its ability to absorb. Okay. So that's why it's such an important deal when it's like metals, fluoride, all that stuff. So that inundation into your system where it's a toxic thing. We went through an article, I think it was last week, where there's like, I didn't know this either, but there in chewing gum, some of the things you have little metals, in there. So, and microplastics are the worst. So you're not supposed to eat plastic. It shouldn't be in the food. Okay. So a lot of the chewing gums had that in there too. Okay. All right. Let's do one more. Ooh, I like this. Okay. So this would be a good one. Okay. To get us on a good soap note, right? All right. A good note at the end. Egg whites found to help lower blood pressure. This is by Dr. Mercola as well. Egg white proteins naturally lower blood pressure by releasing peptides that relax blood vessels and boost nitric oxide. That's another one for youth, okay, without pharmaceutical side effects. Research shows egg whites reduce systolic blood pressure. There's systolic, right, and diastolic by 18 points in just 9 days by supporting the body's natural circulation mechanisms. Enzyme-treated egg whites maintain blood pressure benefits while eliminating allergic reactions, making them a safe option for people that are allergic to eggs. Okay, so there is ways, if you're allergic to eggs, they're called enzyme-treated egg whites. So remember that. So if you're allergic to eggs, you can do that. Pasture-raised low linoleic acid eggs provide optimal cardiovascular benefits, while conventional factory farm eggs can cause inflammation that counteracts the positive. So that's where you want your farm fresh. All of us know the difference. Now that we have 6 chickens, the reason we went and got them is because farm fresh eggs were so much better than the non ones, right? So there's just so many different chemicals they put in those chickens. And so these are much better. Combining egg whites with nitric oxide boosting foods like beets or glycine rich bone broth maximizes the blood pressure lowering effects and overall benefits naturally. So remember that. That is good. Sorry, I got a little whiny Shih Tzu back there. So that could help a lot. I hope. Just remember the egg white thing. That's pretty cool because a lot of times we know they're healthy for us now. We understand egg whites are really good. The protein is very good for your body, but you don't ever know. It actually lowers some blood pressure. So that would be kind of a cool thing to remember as you change your dietary and you see those monitoring things. Okay. So let me see. I got one more area that I go into, but I think no, I got one chiropractic research that we can do tonight. Oh, let's go over this one. I just do one chiropractic one that is in the 220. It's a 2024 study. And then I will call it a night for you guys because I got to work out because my little Shih Tzu she's ready to go outside. All right. So this one is chiropractic for post-concussion symptoms. A 2024 randomized controlled trial involving young adults with persistent post-concussion syndrome after mild traumatic brain injury found that chiropractic significantly improves static and dynamic gaze stability, and it's called the Stroop test performance compared to a controlled intervention. This suggests a spinal or proprioceptive basis for some visual and cognitive symptoms. So what they're saying is chiropractic did help, and then we've seen that in our office as well. So if you know somebody that's had concussion or post-concussion, getting their spine all of that nervous system running in a proper way. It's definitely different. We've had a concussion person almost reverse, like is their symptoms working with their neurologist. It was fantastic. This kid got a lot better. A lot of times it's a slightly different chiropractic because you're doing a lot more light work. You're not doing the physical beat the kid up or anything. And just understanding how these concussions go so that you can give that brain the healing, right? So that's pretty cool that there was a study that said chiropractic can help with concussion type syndromes. So remember that. That would be a good thing to remember. So with that, my friends, we have hit the hour mark, a little hour and 3 minutes. So I hope you guys are enjoying Whole Health Weekly. I love doing it. And hopefully get some good info each week. And we'll just keep going. And remember, it's going to be either 6:30 or 8:30. If you really like it, subscribe to us on Rumble. The Prize Inside a Chiropractor's Journey is on our podcast. You can find that on Spotify. You can find it on iTunes, whatever you'd like. And have a great week. Hopefully, include some of these things. And I hope to see you again here and just let me know how it goes. So that is great. Have a great night, guys.